Hey everybody, this is Tracy here with another edition of A View from Tracy's Point. And as you guys may know, Ghislaine Maxwell was sentenced today, and we are here to talk about it. So Ghislaine Maxwell was sentenced today in her trafficking case that also involved Jeffrey Epstein. And you guys know that Jeffrey Epstein supposedly took his life while he was awaiting trial. And she had to take on the burden herself. And so, according to Yahoo News, Ghislaine Maxwell, the socialite who was convicted last year of helping financier Jeffrey Epstein abuse individuals, was sentenced on Tuesday to 20 years in prison. That's 20. A sentence of 240 months is sufficient and no graver than necessary, U.S. District Judge Allison J. Nathan said while issuing the verdict. Nathan addressed those gathered inside the federal courthouse in Lower Manhattan, including Maxwell and some of her victims. Ms. Maxwell directly and repeatedly and over the course of many years participated in a horrific scheme, said Nathan. Ms. Maxwell worked with Epstein to select individuals who they felt were vulnerable. So the judge said that Maxwell played a pivotal role facilitating heinous and predatory abuse. Nathan also imposed a $750,000 fine, the maximum amount possible under the law. In December, Maxwell was convicted by a jury of 5 charges, including trafficking, transportation, and participation in illegal acts, and 2 conspiracy charges. Maxwell's conduct was shockingly predatory, prosecutors wrote in a court filing. She was a calculating, sophisticated, and dangerous criminal who preyed on vulnerable young women and groomed them for abuse. Her attorneys had asked the judge for a sentence of 4 to 5 years. Before Maxwell's sentence was handed down, the judge heard impact statements from individuals, including Annie Farmer, who had testified she was 16 when Maxwell introduced her to Epstein, and a woman identified as Kate, who told jurors that Maxine once gave her a schoolgirl outfit to wear during an encounter with him. Oh, so maybe that's where Geronda Pace got her story from. Remember, she was talking about she used to have to dress up in the, what was it, the Girl Scout outfit or something like that. So she got that from the Ghislaine Maxwell documents. All right, y'all go ahead on in exchanging stories that y'all want y'all so-called victims to be telling. So it says a lawyer for another woman, Virginia Giuffre, read a statement on her behalf which directly addressed Maxwell. You deserve to spend the rest of your life in a jail cell. You deserve to be trapped in a cage. Child, Maxwell has been held in Brooklyn's Metropolitan Detention Center since her arrest at a New Hampshire estate in July 2020. Epstein, as I already told you guys, committed suicide in prison in 2019. 1 month after he was indicted on federal trafficking charges, but we know that man didn't kill himself, that them folks had him killed. During sentencing, Maxwell was given a chance to address the court and her victims. She said, Your Honor, it is hard for me to address the court after listening to the pain and anguish expressed in the statements made here today. The terrible impact on the lives of so many women is difficult to hear and even more difficult to absorb, both in its scale and in its extent. I believe that Jeffrey Epstein was a manipulative, cunning, and controlling man who lived a profoundly compartmentalized life and fooled all of those in his orbit. But today is not about Jeffrey Epstein. And then she went on to add, To you all, the victims, I am sorry for the pain that you experienced. But homegirl did not admit any guilt. And so let's read some of these comments on this article, because you know at one point Yahoo News had to turn off the comments on their stories, and so now they had the comments back, and sometimes the comments would be more interesting than the actual story itself. So somebody named Martha wrote, I am a feminist with a strong background in criminal justice. I am not soft on crime, unlike the average or standard feminist who tends to see women as victims of powerful men who dupe them. I, for one, am glad she was sentenced harshly. 20 years in prison is appropriate. I am sure she is bitter and angry about the outcome, but so be it. She deserves it. And then let's see what else somebody else wrote. Nick. So Nick wrote, what does being a feminist have anything to do with it? She is vile and received the sentence she deserves. Stop pitying her. Stop pitting yourself against other women. It's pitiful. Let's see. Then other people were saying that she should have been sentenced to at least 30 years, given the graveness of her crimes and her lack of remorse. Someone named Real Eyes, Real Lies, Real Lies says, don't stop there. What about the client list? And that's the thing that has me cracking up, because these people are so slow. So when you read headlines and use that as your source instead of reading the whole story and actually following a case and only, commenting at the tail end after the person is found guilty, you miss all the details. So now you have all these people coming forward now saying, wait a minute, she was found guilty of trafficking. So who was she selling these alleged victims to? Because what people don't understand is that sex trafficking is basically prostitution. So you got to have a girl and you got to have a client, right? So the pimp puts the woman out on the street to sell her body. That's prostitution. Where trafficking comes in, trafficking means that you're taking somebody against their will, you're holding them against their will, and then you are selling them to other people. So you keep them trapped in a room, and then you transport them to hotels and motels to where your clients are, in order for them to have sex with the person. That's what trafficking is. But just like in the Kelly case, we have no clients. The government never produced any clients that these alleged victims were trafficked to. So basically, if you're saying that Epstein and Maxwell were just basically grooming these people to have sex with them, that is not sex trafficking. But the slow people in the back are finally putting two and two together and going, wait a minute, there were no clients revealed. Nobody was exposed during this case as the purchaser of these individuals. So where is the client list? So now they want to demand the client list, but y'all not getting the client list because they have sealed all of the court documents in this case. So y'all ain't gonna never know who the clients were. And so somebody named John wrote, with all the early release programs, I wonder how much time she will actually spend in prison. 20 years is not enough, period. Someone named Chris said, now it's time to drop some high profile names. And then someone named Tazan wrote, I still do not understand where the parents of these underage individuals were when these individuals were getting off to all corners of the globe. Exactly, Tazan. Like, where were the parents? Nobody wants to talk about that. And somebody named Christopher said, a very good question. And then Kathy said, they chose girls with parents that weren't paying attention on purpose. So why aren't the parents in jail? Whether they were paying attention or not, why have they not been held accountable for allowing these horrible things to happen to their daughters? And why were the daughters repeatedly going to meet with Maxwell and Epstein? Why weren't they going to the police and saying that these people are forcing me to come and do these things that I don't want to do? So anyway, guys, that's it for me. Ghislaine Maxwell was sentenced to 20 years in prison and a fine of $750,000 for being in a relationship with Jeffrey Epstein, and I guess engaging in the nonsense with these young women. Do I think that it is worth 20 years in prison? No, I don't, because I think at a certain age, I know when I was a certain age, I knew right from wrong. And when I did wrong, it wasn't because anybody manipulated me or tricked me. It's because I made a conscious decision to go and do wrong. And so, but this is the federal government. They do what they want to do. So anyway, that's it for me. You know, like if these were 10, 11, 12, 13-year olds, yeah, we would have a problem. But once you get into like high school age, you know what you're doing, and y'all can come with the whole your brain ain't developed till you're 25 and all this other nonsense. But none of these individuals were snatched off the street. Okay, these were people that had a conversation, was offered an opportunity to go do whatever, and they made a conscious decision to go and do whatever. Were they wrong? Yes, they were wrong. Ghislaine Maxwell and Jeffrey Epstein, they were wrong. But is it worth 20 years in prison? No, it's not. And that's, you know, Jeffrey Epstein paid the ultimate price. He paid with his life. And now Ghislaine Maxwell is basically being held responsible for both of them, okay, both of their transgressions. So anyway, that's it for me. Go ahead, leave your comments below, rate the video, and subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. And until the next time, I shall talk to you guys later. Bye bye.